Yeah, hello Habib. Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, Emmanuel. I'm doing great. And how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing excellently well, man. I'm doing excellently well. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear that, man.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. How was the day? How was the day today?
It wasn't too bad. You know, able to clear out some tasks and, work on a security training for a client. So I think it was pretty
Nice.
fruitful, I would say, yeah. So,
Yeah, very fruitful day. Guys, you need
yeah,
to have seen Habib in his elements today. Habib was on fire. I
uh,
had to be
come
calming
on.
him down. Say, bro, be calming down. Be calming down.
I mean,
Oh my god. Yeah, well, it was really nice, and yeah, it's all in this in the name of cyber security awareness. For those who don't know,
yeah,
October is Cyber Security Awareness Month, right, all over the world, and as much as possible, security professionals and organizations in the field of and in the business of cybersecurity try as much as possible to give back to the community, right, by spreading the gospel of cybersecurity and mostly free of charge. And yeah, my organization, Cyber Plural, has been pretty much busy doing this throughout the month, right? And so, yes, myself and Habib and my other team member, a lot of which you guys don't know about because they've not been here with us here, right? We've been very busy and we've been doing a lot of talking and preaching. For those who follow us on LinkedIn and our other social media platform, you guys might have seen us make a couple of posts about it, right? And yeah, still in the spirit of that, I believe through today's stream, we are going to be talking a little bit in that light, right? Just to educate those who we can't actually reach as at now, right? Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And I wouldn't want us to waste much time today because we have a lot to cover, right? I can't believe this is episode 6, Habib. Oh my god. And we still
yeah.
have a lot of work. We still have a lot of work to cover here, like,
Wow. I mean, the APR material looks, dense and like there's a lot to cover. I mean, which
yeah,
is good. I mean,
yeah,
I think it emphasizes like, the like how seriously we need to consider API when it comes to the context of security, how important it is, and how the attack surface of API is, pretty large. So
yeah. That is so true. That is so true. I can't agree less. I can't agree less. Yeah, so I think we just get to business today and then we'll start catching fun along the way. So yes, for those who are joining us for the very first time, this is Hack Wednesday, right? And hosted by yours truly, myself and Habib. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself and I'll let Habib introduce himself as well. Yeah, so my name is Emmanuel Akobi Ajibolu, and I work as a penetration tester at Cyber Plural. Right, my day-to-day activity involves hacking and doing all the cool stuff. Right, yeah, I think that's enough for me to say about myself. And lastly, like I always like to say, right, I'm a very proud Christian. I'm very vocal about my faith, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's it about me. How about you, Habib?
yeah, thank you for that, Emmanuel. Just you know, about myself, I'm not really gonna go much into details because of time, but I'm also a penetration tester here at Cyber and day-to-day activities is testing the security posture of clients, and you know, hosting the Hack Wednesday live streams. So that's pretty much everything I'll say for today. All right,
Yeah,
so let's
yeah,
get into it.
yeah. Thank you. And lastly, before we get to business and what we have planned for today, also this program would not have been possible if the management of Cyberpura didn't give silly boys like myself and Abib the chance to come here and do naughty stuff, right? So a very big shout out to the management of Cyberpura for making this possible and giving us access to the organization YouTube channel to do this. And yeah, for those who don't know what Cyberpura is, right? Cyberpura is a cybersecurity company, and we are what you call an MSSP, which stands for Managed Security Service Provider. What this means in layman terms is that we do everything and anything cybersecurity, from offensive security down to defensive security, down to compliance, web application testing, web application protection, API testing, API protection, mobile application, cloud, whatever it is, you name it, we got you covered, right? So yeah, please, if in case you need have any security need, right, and please feel free to give us a call, send us an email at hello at cyberplural.com, or just Google us, and you'll get all the information you need to get about us, and we'll be more than happy to meet your security needs. So without much further ado, let's get to business. Thank you. So yeah, Habib, the last time we did our hack, right? Very, very interesting hack. And the world got to see me do my private mistake. I'll make my private mistake in public, right? Yeah, it was very, very fun. Today we'll be
Hmm.
picking up from there, and I really hope we get to move at a much faster or quicker pace than we've been doing today, previously rather, right? And hopefully we all get to we do all this fun stuff as much as while being very thorough in the space of an hour. Right, so yeah, we're going to start by using intruder to find hidden endpoint. Right, before we get to that, right, so Abib, what is intruder? Right, I think that's the first thing I want us to talk about.
Okay, so intruder is one of the functionalities that is incorporated into Burp Suite, which is the web proxy we've been using over the course of our live stream here at Hack Wednesday, and it essentially allows us to like brute force. Uh, it's essentially a brute forcing tool. Like it helps you to find hidden endpoints, by providing a wait list, for example, of potential uh, endpoints like names, and then intruder takes these take takes word list of potential an API, for example, just to uncover or to discover hidden endpoints. But it's also applicable in other scenarios, like when you're trying to brute force a user account, like the login page, for example. Intruder can help in doing that as well. So, but the very crux of what Intruder does is that it allows you to like perform brute force attack and also to like fuzz. Fuzzing is basically looking for hidden endpoints and directories, but using automation to expedite the process. So that is what Intruder essentially does when it comes to in the context of Burp Suite, the web proxy we've been using, and which we're also going to be showcasing that as well today. Over
Yeah,
to you,
yeah.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, very, very thorough explanation. Thank you. I think one thing I picked from what you've explained is that intruder is used for brute forcing, right? Like you rightly mentioned. but I've seen people um, restrict brute forcing to just password cracking, right? A good number of time when you talk about brute forcing, some persons their mind just quickly go to what is it called? We just they just limit their mind to, oh, you're cracking a password or something, right? And like Habib have explained, although like even till date, if you ask me, and to be honest, I use brute force and force interchangeably, right? Because a lot of persons will argue that it's basically the same thing, just different terminologies or different English word, but that's not what we are here for, right? And yeah, basically what intruder like Habib explained is what you use for brute forcing. Now when we say brute forcing or forcing, right, I'll be switching the words, right? But you guys should just understand I'm talking about the same thing, right? Most time brute forcing or forcing is just the act or the habit of trying something over and over and over again, right, till you get it right, right? So this can be applied in a lot of in several contexts, right? It could be attack in the case of cracking a password. It can be attack in the case of logging. It can be applied in the case of cracking a hash, right? As well, it can be applied in the case of guessing possible web content. It can be applied in the case of what, guessing possible web directory. It can be applied as well in the case of what, guessing API parameters. It can be applied in the case of guessing API endpoint. So just like the previous time where we were trying to get the file type right, and I was making the very very humiliating assumption, right, right, which Abib effectively corrected me on, right, in like a more realistic scenario, right. I probably wouldn't have been doing that manually, right. I'll just have like a list, right, of possible expected file content type or expected file types, right? And then I plug it into intruder, and then I tell intruder to start trying very very quickly, right? And then I go through all the requests and their corresponding responses, and I see the one that actually went through. Then right, any usually whichever one that is odd, right, is definitely a pointer in the right direction. So that's basically what we mean. So in the context of finding hidden endpoints, now there are usually cases where there are endpoints that do not have their paths documented, maybe in the documentation, or it doesn't exist anywhere, right, but it is there, right? It exists in the case of API, right? So we could use intruder to start forcing for these endpoints. Then we'll find it, and then usually if it is hidden, then there's something juicy there, right? So once, let me read through the material. So once you have identified some initial API endpoints, right, you can use intruder to uncover hidden endpoints. So for example, consider a scenario where you have identified the following API endpoints for updating users information. So you've discovered that, oh, there's an endpoint that uses a put method for slash API slash user slash updates, right? To identify hidden endpoints, you could use Bob Intruder to find other resources with the same structure. Right? So since we've gotten the structure, which is slash API slash user slash updates, right, we could try to see if it is possible for us to what, to guess the existence of other endpoints, right? And by when we say guess now, right, that we are definitely not doing it manually. We are doing like we are automating it, right? So the function, right, of Bob suit that is going to handle this is intruder, right? So for example, you could add a payload to the update position, right, of the path with a list of other common functions such as delete and add. When looking for hidden parameters, use word list based on common API naming convention and industry terms. Make sure you also include terms that are relevant to the application based on your initial recon. Yeah. So yeah, Habib, do you have something to add to this before I quickly bring out my Bob suit, and then we try to put more context to this so it makes more sense to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you've did a very great job at, expounding on what brute forcing is and fuzzing and how that ties to intruder. I think the only little thing I'll just add to this is that, finding, some sensitive hidden endpoints, for example, that are not restricted or protected, kind of ties to one of the OWASP top 10 API security vulnerability, which is unrestricted access to sensitive business flows. So, I mean, if we're able to successfully find like hidden endpoints that are sensitive, like, for example, using like we can see this API path, right? Put
Yeah.
slash API slash user slash, let's say, for example, delete. This is quite sensitive. And let's just say an attacker can use this endpoint to delete resources or information related to other users, for example. I mean, the fact that they could use something a brute force into like intruder to find this endpoint and it is not protected or restricted. uh for example, maybe they discover this while they're a normal user, then this kind of speaks to the OWASP top 10 API security vulnerability, which is unrestricted access to sensitive business flows, because this endpoint basically is part of the business flow. And in this case, it's sensitive. I mean, just like the title of the vulnerability is. So normally, this kind of endpoint that is sensitive should be restricted. But if we're able to discover this, even though it's hidden, and we're able to discover it using a brute force into like intruder, then I think it kind of speaks to that vulnerability. That's just the only thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so without speaking too much English, let me bring up my Bob suit and then we're good to go. So I'll just quickly bring out Bob suit and just to drive home the point, right? We are not going to be, because I mean, we don't have a lab for this. So we just bring out Bob suit, try to show our audience how to do this, right? And yeah, okay. And by God's grace, my Bob suit is updating. Oh
Yeah,
my God, it's just like that
I
movie.
mean,
Do you know that movie where they were using Windows?
which one? Sorry, could you remind me?
I think I can't remember. I can only remember faintly, but I know it was
Okay.
something that something it had something to do with space travel, and they
Oh,
were trying to.
oh
It was a
yeah. I
matter
think
of life
it
and
was
death.
it was this actor. I think it's this actor from The Office. What's his name? Sorry. Let me. I forgot his
Oh,
name.
you
Oh
want
my
to
God.
Google it?
Yeah.
Okay.
His name is Steve Carell. I think there was
Yeah.
a series. I think it was in Netflix, I believe. And then
Yeah.
uh, and then I think they were using Windows. And then then an update just popped up while
Bro,
they were.
there's always
Yeah, that
updating
was
like
pretty funny.
the wrongest of moments, man. The wrongest of moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a good thing, because you don't want
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
security
Yes,
misconfigurations like that.
man. Exactly. 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 Please don't update later, just do it as soon as possible, right? Because
Exactly.
in the spirit of cybersecurity awareness month, please, as much as you can, always do your updates. Yes, it can be very inconvenient, right? But please, as much as you can, run your updates, right? Because it's going to save you from a whole lot of headache, right? At Cyberprat, we have like a popular saying, right, that security can be very expensive and at the same time, security can be very, very cheap. depending on where you stand, right? Because you'll be so surprised by how far doing the very the very basics when it comes to security is going to go in saving you from a security breach, right? For example, somebody could have like a very weak password, right, that can easily be cracked, but if they have 2FA enabled, right, it will take the 2FA being poorly implemented for a hacker to get into that person's account, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so some
that's
of
another
these.
example of
Yeah, carry on, Abib.
no, no, please, come on, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
No, no, okay. So I mean, like it will just take very basic habits, right? Set strong password. Don't leave your laptop open. Don't use don't repeat password, right? If I mean, and people always ask that, oh, if I'm using strong password and are telling me not to repeat it, how am I going to remember? Then that's where we have password manager, right? So you might want to use password manager, but usually, in fact, in like the awareness session I had physically with a team member, right, yesterday, someone asked that, oh, so what happens if the password manager gets compromised? So I was like,
Yeah, that's another.
yeah, it's a very very valid question, right? But I mean, how do I explain this on air now? It's a very valid question, and trust me, it's an ongoing argument, right? That, oh, why should I trust password manager when if somebody gets access to it, the person has access to all my all my all my password, right? That's very valid, but trust me, right? It's not something that gets to happen all the time or very often, right? So to a large extent, you could actually trust your password manager. Something I mean, WinRAR had like some very interesting critical vulnerability in like the last 5 years, right? And trust me, if you should check a lot of people's system, right, you will see that a lot of persons have refused to even update their WinRAR simply because WinRAR does not automatically update by itself, right? And what that means is that if we are carrying out like a phishing campaign for initial access, and we can get somebody in the organization who is using WinRAR, and trust me, like a whole lot of persons use WinRAR as their extraction file for compressed extraction application for compressed files, right? That's like one of our vectors of getting into organizations, because we know like, okay, WinRAR doesn't automatically update itself, and that means a lot of people might not have patched their system, right, for that particular vulnerability, for those specific vulnerabilities rather, and that might just be way into the system. So something as little as, oh, just going to download like the latest version of Mira since it's not updating itself, and installing it in like the space of maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes could actually save your entire organization from somebody breaking in, right? Because if I should send you the malicious file and your WinRAR is updated, there's no way it's gonna work. So yeah, so very very basic things like this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other thing that that speaks to your question, I think the question that you mentioned that the audience asked regarding, like, what if your password manager got compromised? Of course, that would be
Yeah.
really funny and, critical. But I think this is where something called defense in depth comes into play. I mean, if you're on your applications and maybe websites that you're registered on, when you have things like multi-factor, enabled,
Exactly.
even if an attacker compromises like your, for example, like God forbid, your password manager, and they have access to all of your credentials, if you have at least the very basic one of the defense layered defense controls like MFA in place, I'm pretty sure at least it's gonna slow them down, depending on how secure and other how would I put it, like other things that might help them bypass the MFA. Let's say, for example, the endpoint that handles the MFA or that generates the token or OTP, for example, is doesn't have like rate limits and stuff. And then,
Yeah,
an attacker
sure.
can brute force it with intruder, and then they can easily guess that to bypass your MFA. Maybe the type is, OTP. But at least if you have that in place, at least it gives you some time to like, reset your password and then, you know, uh, raise this incident to like, the necessary department, like, or to the, to the organization itself. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for adding that, Habib. Thank you so much. Yeah, very, very apt. Yeah, so let's get back to business. Okay, so let me open browser here. I think I need to bring this to my other screen. Okay. Yep. No, don't restore. Don't restore. Don't put me on in trouble. Okay, so I need to expand this. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly look for like a basic login portal. So let me use this HTTP login from Akinetics. Yeah, so we have this from Akinetics. So yeah, yeah, continue to the site. Okay, so username is Habib. Password is Fine Boy. Fine Bobo.
That's a very strong password.
Yes, very very strong man. So login. Okay, so we should have that request. So if we check HTTP history, yeah, we have this here. So we can see this here, right? But what we want to showcase is not brute forcing for password, right? What we want to show is to brute force for what is it called? Um, to brute force for endpoints, right? So I'm just going to send right click on this now, and then I will send to what? Click on send to intruder. You could just do Control plus I, right? So once I'm here now, right, what you do when you are using intruder is that you set the payload location, right? So payload is like what you want, the parts that you want, the parts that you want to automate, right? So I'm going to explain. I'm not sure I have the right words for that. Maybe Abib might save me on that, right? So we have different types of attack. We have sniper. We have battering ram. We have pitchfork. We have cluster, right? But in this case, sniper is good for us because we just want to automate one particular part of the request. So, for example, we have a list that contains various passwords that we want to use, right? So we'll just make this part what? We'll make this part uh, our variable, our payload location. So if I should click on this now, right, you can see that this is now between these two signs, right? This fine bubble is now between two signs. Then over here now, I could have like my word list, right? I could load it, I could paste it, whatsoever it is. So what I'm just going to do is I'll quickly grab one from Git. Let's quickly grab one from GitHub. So let's just say top 100 passwords GitHub, right? So this should get us. So we have these from sec list. So no, this is not what I want. Let's just use the second one. Okay, so we have top 100 passwords. Oh, where are you? Oh, so this is the file. So I'm just going to copy this. So just come here, copy everything, right? And then copy for those who use very very interesting password that they think is impossible. Some people use a, some people use pass, some people use password, right? Spelled this way, right? So you can see it in this word list. Yeah, So what we just do is to paste it here, right? And then since we've pasted it here, right? Oh, you still have to set some things here, but let's just leave it basic here, so we don't overly complicate today's session, right? And once you've done this here, all you have to do is to what, start attack. So because we're using the community version of Bobsuit here, definitely it's going to be throttled, right? So this is going to take time. So I'm just going to start it and use maybe three or five, 2 or 3 requests rather, to drive home the point, right? So I'm just going to bring that into this other screen, and then you can see the requests is going already. So if we select each request now, you can see that the part where we set as our payload, right? So you can see that it's being replaced by several. So it's been replaced by the several word from our word list, right? So you can see the various words from the word list, right? So if I should select root now, you can see here that the password is root, right? So basically this is what forcing, this is what brute forcing looks like now, but this is in the context of what, of this is in the context of password brute forces. So I'm just going to stop this. All right, so close this for me. No, discard, right? So same thing, let me clear this now, right? Clear all. So you can see everything's back to normal. Now the same principle can actually be applied. The same principle can actually be applied to endpoint. So let's assume this is an API, right? And then we have a list of possible directories, right? So let's say, for example, right, we have / user info, right? Then we have / account number. So let's say / account, and then we now have / update, right? So if there's update, there is a chance that there might be maybe remove. Then there's a chance that there might be delete, right? And all those kind of things, right? So the same thing, you could just come here now, highlight this, and then you add. So you make this like the payload location, right? And then now in this specific scenario, you use a word list that aligns with what you want to do. Understand? So in this case now, the previously rather, we're using like a password list. Obviously, you are not going to see directories name 111, right? It is rare rather to see directories name 111, directory name 000 Ubuntu, and all those kind of things. So you want to use like word list that aligns with this specific purpose. But for the sake of just demo purpose, and for quick understanding, we'll just stick to. Oh no, I think it will be better for us to show this, right? So here now we could just go back, right? Just a quick Google search. We could just search for what um let's do API endpoint lists. So let's do this. We should be able to get to yeah, so we have a list of these, so you can see some common API endpoint names from these, so you can see, right? So we have this list, so I'm just going to copy a few of these, right? Just because we want to explain, just explain. Then we'll come back here now, and then I'm going towards clear this, right? And I'm going to paste the new one here, so you can see it here. And then all we have to do is towards start the attack. So yes, okay, and now that we've started the attack, you can see, so if you check here now, you can see this is Apache. If you check here, you can see this is being replaced by API, and it continues that way, right? And it continues that way, right? So you understand. So basically, this is what that particular resource is saying, right? And now if you check out this status code, you can see 404, which means it doesn't exist, not found. You can see the response. So you start hunting, start looking through your scan, and okay, which is different, is there anyone that returns 200? Okay, if you are getting 200, okay, then it means it exists. If you are getting a redirect, then that means there's a high chance that also exists. And so those are some things you want to look out for when brute forcing for endpoint, or brute forcing for endpoint, or when forcing for endpoint, whichever one you want to call it. Yeah. So yeah, Abib, I don't know if you have anything to add, or we should just continue.
Not much. I think another technique that I use uh, during pen test engagement is, when I want to discover like hidden API endpoints, probably ones that are not visible. Uh, uh, one other approach or method that I use is, you know, extracting the JavaScript files of the target application, and then, using probably like a simple script to like scrape for potential API endpoints. I think that's another way to go about it if you don't want to brute force. But, you know, when you're in an engagement, you want to try every possible um, method or approach at your disposal. So that gives you more information, you know, and gives you more option, to be honest. And you have a high chance of getting more vital information, such as, some hidden endpoints. Because one thing I've got to in general, you don't want to be too reliant on just one approach or method. You'd want to at least have like two or three approaches or method or even tools as well that you would use to perform a specific task or technique. I would say so. I think that's just what I wanted to add to this.
Yeah, thank you, Abib, for adding that very, very beautiful contribution. Hey, good evening, man. How you doing? Nayo is saying good
Good
evening.
evening there, and Alan as well. It's good to have you guys
Yeah,
back again.
Alan even dropped something very interesting. He said, "I remember when this friend of mine told me he won an iPhone 16 from a link he clicked, and said he just paid for the shipping. Wow!
Oh no,
Oh wow!
uh, that's fishing exercise, I guess.
He paid for the shipping, so I
No way.
guess he has contributed his own quota to the community."
Hopefully
Oh
the
man.
shipping cost is not too much.
Yeah, man, I really hope so. I really hope so. I hope it's not overseas shipping, and I hope it's not express.
Yeah, but
Yeah, actually, Alan made a very solid point, which is very, very beautiful. After this, he said the cybersecurity awareness help spread information on how people can avoid some of this. Yes, that's very, very profound. Very, very profound. Yeah, it's easy for us as professionals, right, to see or hear some of these stories and probably laugh about it and stuff, right? But the truth is, not everybody is as knowledgeable as we are, right? And we try as much as we can during periods like this and during cybersecurity sessions, most especially non-technical ones, when we interface with people who don't have like the most solid knowledge in the domain, right? We try as much as possible to educate them on the very basic things, right? And how these things how these things work.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, give me a minute, please. My Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so thank you very much for the beautiful contribution, Alan. Is it Barry Allen, the fastest man alive? Or which Allen are you? Okay, so I think we can get back to business, right? So just going to switch back to this screen. Okay, so I believe we've done justice to this, right? So for example, you could add a payload to the update, right? Position of the path with a list, right? Such as delete, add, right? So exactly just like we showcased for using intruder. So finding hidden parameters. Okay. So now we've discovered an endpoint. So let's say, for example, we forced and then we've discovered a particular endpoint, right? Then maybe we still want to force for parameters as well, right? So yeah, same thing applies. So when you are doing API recon, right, you may find undocumented parameters that the API supports. Okay, so you can attempt to use this to change the application's behavior. Bob include numerous tools that can help you identify hidden parameters. So first point, Bob Intruder enables you to automatically discover hidden parameters using a word list of common parameter names to replace existing parameter or add new parameter. Make sure you also include names that are relevant to the application based on your initial recon. Okay, very. I think I'll let Abib talk about the first part and then I'll talk about the second part. Right? Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, so regarding the first part, which per intruder enables us to automatically discover hidden parameters, using a word list, just as we've showcased earlier. Like Manos, we would essentially have to use word lists that you know relates to the context of what we're actually trying to brute force. So in this case, um, we would supply intruder with a word list of potential parameters, for example, and then we could also make up uh, parameters by ourselves. And one way we can also do that is by like I've said, or sorry, like we've said over time and over again, information gathering is very important. So when you know the technology stack that the target is hosted on, or is using, you could, let's say for example, like one of the application is sorry, one of the programming language on the target application um, excuse me, Python, for example, or maybe they're using a well-known server like yeah, let's say for example they're using a very well-known server or a library, for example. We could essentially just perform something called Google Foo, which is doing like a little bit of OSync on the server and look up the documentation and see okay, this the endpoint that we are trying to guess the parameters that it takes. Like, okay, we can actually find these things in the official documentation. Like, what are other potential parameters that this endpoint takes, for example, and then we can try that. We could also add those that we discover in the documentation as well into our word list, and then uh, attach that to intruder, and then fire off on full cylinder to like brute force and potentially get us successful parameters. So I'll hand over to Manel to like
Yeah,
pick up
thank
from
you.
here.
Yeah, thank you, Abib, for that excellent explanation, right? I think, just like you rightly said, I think one rookie mistake, and I'm not going to deny the fact that I also made the mistake, right? Because initially, when I just started out, right, when I started my learning, right, when I started hacking in codes, right, it was always hard for me to decide on word list, right? Because, yeah, people always say, oh, use rockq.txt. And yeah, even during CTFs, right? Use rockq.txt, but time is going, right? There's no time, right? And rockq.txt, I mean, is a very, very large word list, right? Very, very large word list, right? And before you can actually get to the part that contains maybe the part that contains the word that you need, right? It's going to take a lot of time. And when it comes to CTF, time is not your. Yo, sorry, I think I got disconnected. My network. Habib, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
All right.
Sorry, I
Uh,
lost
we're
connection
still
for a
live
minute.
or
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
okay? All right, perfect.
So I was just talking about like
Sorry about that, guys.
I was just talking about like the importance of getting. It's like an art. You need to learn the art of deciding what word lists to use for specific scenarios. You get. So if you are fuzzing for endpoints, right, related to API, you want to use a word list that is right tailored for that. You don't just want to slap rocky.txt into into fuzzing for that, right? If you are fuzzing for web application endpoints, you want to use if you are fuzzing for web directory, right, web application directory, you want to use a word list that contains common and possible web application directory names, right? Same if you are fuzzing for API, you want to do that as well. So very, very important that the list you are using, right, is relevant to what you are doing. So I think that's why I really this second part is very, very profound. Make sure you also include names that are relevant to the application. So this speaks to why reconnaissance and understanding what exactly it is that you are doing, right? So don't just say, oh, because I need to force, then I need to find like the biggest word list. Nah, that's not the smart thing to do. Get a word list that is what's the word now? A word list that is ah what's the word now? Okay. A word list that is, let's just call it, okay, Abib, you want to help me out?
We could just say relevance. I mean, just like
Yes, thank you. A
it's
word list
outlined
that
here in the
is
material.
relevant. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's just
A word list that is relevant for that
yeah.
purpose. Yeah, and let's move to the second point. I think we'll hit the brakes here because this is one of one. So we'll pick up from mass assignment vulnerability in the next episode. So the param minor B app, right, enables you to automatically get up to 65,536 parameter names per request. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. So Paraminer automatically guesses names that are relevant to the application
Yeah, it
based on information taken from the scope, right? So yeah, another very beautiful extension that you can use for this is the param miner. Okay, and then the content discovery tool enables you to discover content that isn't linked for visible content that you can browse to, including parameters. Okay, so just for the sake of those who are very, very new, let's quickly check the B App Store for the param miner. So I'm going to go to extension. I'm going to go to B App Store for those who might want to set it up, and then I'm going to search for param miner, and then you can see it here, right? Very, very popular. And then you can read more information about it here, blah 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 blah. And all you need to do is what, click install, and you should have it installed and good to go. You can see it is low on memory, it is low on CPU, and pretty fast. So yeah, these are some extensions that are going to help you and make you a much more better hacker. Yeah. So I think with that being shown, and with this being explained, we just might hit the brakes here, and we'll pick up from mass. We'll pick up with mass assignment in the very next episode, and we'll be carrying out the associated exploitation. But before we call it a night, I'm just going to real quick, right, go to check the comment section, right, to know if anybody is saying anything or if there's any question before we call it a night. Okay. Okay, I don't think we have any question. So I believe we're good. Habib, I don't know if you have anything to add, and so we can call it a night.
No, no, not of mine. I mean, just want to thank our audience, as usual, for always sticking around with this, and hopefully tonight's session was, you know, um, was awesome, I guess. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Nayo is saying thanks for today's session. You're welcome, Chief. You're welcome. Saying Nayo and Allen are actually the OGs now. Like we have them on. Yeah, I think all
Yeah,
our stream rights. So thank you
yeah,
guys for always showing up. Yeah.
yeah. We should definitely.
Um.
Sorry. No, I was saying like we should definitely get them the league jacket you got from
No,
last
no, no.
the
That's
last
meant
time.
for me and my babe. That's meant for me and my babe. Please, please, please.
Okay. All right.
Alright, we'll send them. We'll send them
All
pure
right then.
water. We'll send them pure water. Oh my
Can't be
god.
serious.
Yeah, so thank you guys. We're very grateful. And lastly, if you should have any cybersecurity need, please feel free to reach out to us at hello at cyber plural, or you could just search cyber plural, cyber and plural together, right? Search it on Google. You get information about us. If you want to come visit us at the office, our doors are open, and we'll be more than happy to meet your security need. And I'm still in the spirit of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Please stay safe online, right? Don't be greedy, right? And think twice before clicking on any link. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Till the very next time, guys. Stay safe.